Hey there, Cameron here with the C Butters Tech channel. And today I wanted to talk about one of the kind of well-kept secrets in the SSD market. And that is this, the SK Hynix brand of SSDs. Now, they actually reached out to me to look at their device here, their newest model, which is the P41 Platinum. And I gotta say, when I had to laugh when I got this device because in the mail, because if I open my drawer right here, um, I didn't know what exactly they were sending over, but got this, I've got this, I've got this. It's a good sign when you're already such a fan of the product that you already have three or four of them sitting around in your office. And the reason I really like SK Hynix and their drives is because not only do they have really great performance, but they really have really good power characteristics. In fact, I first heard about SK Hynix with the Gold series, and in Anatech's review, I think that they were just like they kept rerunning their tests because they were like, is why is this using so little power? And in fact, not only does the Platinum top the charts in all the reviews that are out there for speed, but not only that, but for the amount of megabytes transferred per second per watt used. So it's a really great Gen 4 device. And there's already been so much talk about this. I was thinking, how can I kind of show how cool this device is in a non-conventional way? So what I ended up doing was going the route of showing you how well this device performs in something like this, an M.2 SSD enclosure. And so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to compare this drive to a couple other drives I have around, drop them in the enclosure because while everyone likes to talk about their speed stats, what most people don't realize is a lot of SSDs, what happens when you write data to them consistently is they maintain a high level of performance for a certain amount of time, but then boom, their cache runs out and then the performance slows down substantially. However, this enclosure is a 10 gigabit per second USB 3.0 device. And even with, these drives can go a lot faster than 10 gigabits per second. You'd actually need a Thunderbolt enclosure to go any faster than what this is offering in this enclosure, but it's still most likely going to show what happens when your SSD runs out of cache and starts to operate very slowly. And what I've seen with the Platinums is they actually perform so well even after their cache has run out that it still exceeds the 10 gigabit on transfer rate from the computer to this drive. So basically, if you use this Platinum drive, you're never going to get a slowdown on your external device. When it's connected via this interface. So this is an ROG ROS enclosure that's actually really cool. It comes apart really easily, so you can test lots of different SSDs. But let's get to the test. I'm talking too much as usual. Okay, so in order to do this test, I have a set of 305 gigabytes of data that I'm copying to a drive. This is the conventional drive, the competitor drive. This is an MP400, and you can see that it starts off quite quickly copying to the drive. But what you're going to see is that cache fills up quite quickly. And then you're going to see slowdowns. This is a use case that many video editors have. They're copying large data files over to portable drives so they can carry them with them, do video editing on the go. So let's see what happens midway through this copy. And you can see right there, suddenly, mid-copy, you go from the very quick speed to suddenly it's struggling, and it the speed is reduced, you know, even down to 125 megabytes a second. And this is pretty common. You see this on most drives these days. MLC drives were actually a little better at maintaining speed, but these newer, larger Gen 4 drives have issues. And you can see it picks up a little bit. It recovers for a second here. But if we fast forward a little bit longer to the end, you can see by the end of this copy, it's just done. It's going at 105 megabytes a second, slower than a normal conventional hard drive at this point. So this is not ideal. Let's go ahead and look at the copy on the Platinum P41 because this one does not suffer from these issues nearly as drastically as that conventional drive. Now, and in fact, because we're limited to 10 gigabits per second on this external device, and the slowed down rate of the P41 is so good, it never slows down to a point where it is lower than that 10 gigabits per second. So even all the way through the copy, you can see very consistent performance. The entire 305 gigabyte data set was copied. No issues at all, no slowdowns, performs like a champ. And this is one of the reasons why you might want to consider one of these high quality drives. So here are the final results. And while the peak speeds were similar, and that was only because of the limitation on the bandwidth that we have to this external drive, it's a limitation of that controller and the 10 gigabits per second max. So while that was similar, the P41 was still quicker, but look at that copy time. And this is what I'm talking about. You may think your drive is fast, but if it can't maintain the speed, it's not the best user experience. And that's where I find, for me, that's a big deal. I mean, if it takes me, and this is just a smaller data set. If you're copying an entire, you know, a bigger video file set to do some video editing or get it from a client or something like that, and you have to stand around twice as long, or if this were to go on further, if your data set was even bigger than this, you know, that going at full speed, you know, 700 megabytes a second versus that 100 megabytes a second, there is a 7x penalty potentially when you're copying that large of a data set with that conventional drive. So it definitely pays to get a good performing drive that can maintain its speed over time. So yeah, I highly recommend SK Hynix's drives. The Platinum is a great device. It's usually for a great price as well, despite its class-leading performance. And like I say, I'm a big fan. I've got several of these drives. I've got their entire lineup potentially, and that's just because that's what I buy. This is what I stick on my laptops. But if I don't have a size constraint on the M.2, I always use SK Hynix. So check the link in the description below, and we'll see you on the next video. And have a good one, guys.